Now at 9, why the circus is staying in Joplin longer than originally planned. Plus, some kindergarten students in Carthage get a chance to learn about other cultures. And the Pittsburgh Police Department hosts a car seat check so parents know if their child is safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Elise Noe. Ascension Via Christi reveals some of their patients' information was hacked recently. The healthcare provider said it received notice about the hack involving some patients' information. Some Ascension entities in Kansas, including Via Christi Hospital, Pittsburgh, Via Christi St. Francis, and Via Christi Imaging Manhattan, and St. John Jane Phillips in Oklahoma. This incident did not involve Ascension systems, networks, or electronic health records or other Ascension locations, but instead a third-party partner. Both parties have worked with impacted patients and say they are reviewing their existing policies and procedures. A crash in Seneca, Missouri leads to an overturned horse trailer and a burning Jeep. Authorities responded to the crash about at 2:45 in the morning at Bethel Road and Highway U. A Jeep traveling east on Highway U crashed into a northbound truck and horse trailer, which failed to yield to the Jeep. The horse trailer overturned and the Jeep caught fire. The driver of the Jeep was transported to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 2 horses rescued at the scene appeared to not have injuries. No one in the pickup suffered any injuries. Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joins us with the first look at weather.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nice afternoon after we had the showers. We had the thunderstorms, heavy amounts of rain across the region late last night through the morning hours, kind of got out of here early afternoon. With a little bit of sunshine, we made it up to 78, started at 65. 80 is our average, so pretty close. 95 is the record set back in 1956. But everybody, widespread rain. Last night through the morning hours, average was about a 1/4 to 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Bullseye, eastern parts of Jasper County, 3, 4, upwards to 5 inches of rain. As we go through the night, slide back mid-60s, 77 by 10 o'clock in the morning. But here's something we got to watch. We have a severe threat across the region as we go into tomorrow evening. So we're going to be breaking that down for you here in just a little bit.
The McCune Lions Club hosted their 77th annual McCune Fall Festival. Folks enjoyed bluegrass music by the Grits and Grass Band and a cruise and car show. There was also a bean feed where everyone in the community was welcome to bring their own containers to be filled with beans and, of course, some sweet treats, including homemade pies and ice cream. The McCune Lions Club has been hosting this event for 7 decades to help bring their community together.
Well, the reason why we've been around for 77 years is that we are dedicated to serving the community of McCune and the surrounding area. We have all kinds of benefits for the citizens. We help them. We provide services to them when they can't get them any other way.
The McCune Lions Club will be keeping the celebrations going tomorrow with a parade in the morning and their smoking hot barbecue cook-off. After 2 weekends of shows, the Mexican do Portugal Circus extends their stay in Joplin. The 25-person crew will now be in the city until October 1st. They have toured multiple countries and promised to perform a show that will leave people on the edge of their seats. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
Brothers Aldo and Israel Portugal are the 5th generation of circus performers. They were raised under the circus tents in different cities and countries.
You grew up watching the show and you grew up watching the performance. I grew up watching performance from all over, and now we're just like, damn.
After years practicing, Aldo is able to do things that are even hard to explain.
Do it with my head, no hands, no legs, only my head on the trapeze. It's really choking. I know it sounds weird, but once you see it live, you are like, damn.
Aldo is not the only one with jaw-dropping performances. I'm right now inside one of the most exciting and dangerous attractions of the circus, the Globe of Death. And just being inside here is already scary. I cannot imagine the emotions that the motorcyclists feel when they're getting here for the presentations. And this is why every day, 2 hours before each show, they check everything to make sure that the equipment are working well.
You never know when the the bike is gonna have a failure because it's a engine. So
I can't even wash it because my palms start to sweat. I get really nervous, you know, and that's our show, what it's about. It's about excitement and of course a little bit of love with the clowns, but mostly excitement.
Israel started to ride the motorcycle at the age of 9.
you first learn how to move the bike inside, but just a little bit, and then you start slow.
The circus that carries the brother's last name also evolved with its performers. The Do Portugal show doesn't count on animals as attractions.
It has to be improved, you know. It has to move on with our generation.
While moving on with new performances, this show is for people all ages.
As a performer, it's not a big crowd or a small crowd. It's a good crowd. When I get something back from the audience, that's when it's really enjoyable.
In Joplin, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
This is Do Portugal Circus's first time in Missouri. Again, they will be in Joplin until October 1st with presentations from Thursday to Sunday. Some special guests brought an international flair to the Columbian Kindergarten in Carthage. 4 international students from Missouri Southern stopped by Columbian Kindergarten to talk about what their home countries and cultures are like. Officials say it's a good way for the kindergartners to learn more about the world. For the students, it was mostly about fun interaction.
So earlier this week, kids brought in food from their home culture for their friends to try out. And then we also know that Missouri Southern has an international focus, and so we thought what better way to combine the two than to ask some students to come in and talk to our kindergarten about their cultures and what it's like for them.
For the discussions, each international student was set up in a different spot in the room and the kindergarten students rotating around. Well, Middle-earth enthusiasts were able to celebrate all things Lord of the Rings at the Joplin Public Library today to celebrate Hobbit Day. Those in attendance enjoyed a scavenger hunt based on Bilbo Baggins' riddles, flower crowns in the makerspace, and guests could even make their own Hobbit feet.
Today is kind of like celebrated all over, but it's Hobbit Day, so it's celebrating the birthdays of 2 of the characters from the books.
We made my flower crown out of flowers, but they're fake, they're very beautiful.
The Lord of the Rings celebrations are not ending today, however. This event was in partnership with the Joplin Empire Market, who will continue celebrating Hobbits tomorrow. The Pittsburgh Fire Station number 1 played host to a car seat check line today. The check lane is the final event for Child Passenger Safety Awareness Week. Parents brought their vehicles and car seats through the lane to make sure that all safety aspects were up to date and followed codes. Kids also got to meet fire station mascot Sparky.
We are actually doing most of it, but alongside the families. So we are making sure that the car seats are not expired, that they are installed properly, and that literally the child's come out of here in a safe manner.
If you would like to volunteer with the Family Response Advocates, you can find more information on the City of Pittsburgh website. Coming up, an expanding strike.
Still on, and they're about to get some company. I'm Jeff Flock in Wayne, Michigan with a full story when we come back.
It's Baby Safety Month, and new data from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission shows that young children are still dying from unsafe sleep environments or misuse of nursery products. Mandy Gaither takes a look at the report and has more on to keep babies safe.
It's a silent danger. Accidental suffocation can happen when babies aren't kept safe while sleeping.
Oftentimes, people are focused on getting their child to sleep and not on the environment that children are sleeping in.
In a new report, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission says there were more than 160 nursery product-related deaths every year. Many deaths happen because of unsafe sleep environments, including having a sleep space cluttered with things like pillows, blankets, and comforters.
We like to say bare is best. So putting them without pillows, without blankets, without plush toys.
Between 2018 and 2020, there was also an annual average of 15 deaths associated with inclined infant sleepers. To keep your child safe, use products intended for sleep that meet federal requirements like a crib, bassinet, or other firm flat surface. And if they fall asleep elsewhere, move them to that safe space. Put nothing but a fitted sheet where the child sleeps, place the baby on their back, and check saferproducts.gov for recalls.
It shouldn't be recall products in the stores, but a lot of times people are ending up buying things secondhand and taking the extra step to make sure that the product you're looking at hasn't been recalled is really important.
The report found African American children are disproportionately affected by nursery product-related deaths. The CPSC says awareness is critical.
Some children's pre-reading board books have been recalled over possible choking risks. More than 200,000 of 8 books from the Rainbow Road series books have been called back because plastic binding rings could detach and cause choking for young children. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the products were sold at Target, Barnes & Noble, Sam's Club, and Amazon.com. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Chiefs look to get above 500 for the first time this season. Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, looks at the hidden yardage so far this season.
Well, of course, we had some heavy amounts of rain late last night through the morning hours, some severe thunderstorms across the region, but most importantly, beneficial rain, which we needed. About 3/4 of an inch at the Joplin Airport. Since midnight, that puts us at 3 inches for the month so far, which is pretty good. The rain's picked up this week. For the year, about 25, but we're still over 10 inches below where we should be. All that rain raced on out of here. You can see it dropping through. Mainly it was out of here by mid-afternoon. Then since that point in time, we've looked pretty good. We still look pretty good across the region. Here's our next storm system. This is building the western high plains, Montana and Wyoming, and this system will start to affect us as we go into the evening hours on Saturday. And there is a severe threat. So if we look, marginal, slight, elevated. So we are in the elevated, which is a level 3 out of 5 on the Kansas-Oklahoma side, spreading into southwest Missouri. Main timing, 5 p.m. to about midnight, may go a little bit later. Main threats, hail and wind. We'll keep tornado threat slight, but it is there, especially earlier in the evening. We're going to elevate hail, wind, and rain. So let's step through time. I'm going to move us up to about the noon hour on Saturday. Warming into the lower 80s. As we get into the afternoon, look at this, upper 80s to near 90, so it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, it's going to be a little bit windy. Now, as we go through the evening, here 6 p.m., a few thunderstorms start to develop in our far western counties. Everybody else is dry. Thunderstorms continue to erupt. Here's 8 p.m., and these are the guys that will have at least a low tornado threat. But once they shift east, here's 10 p.m., getting to the state line, Kansas and Missouri, I think we shift mainly to a wind and a hail threat. Thunderstorms continue to drop through. Here's a little bit after midnight. We kind of switch over to just good old loud storms, heavy amounts of rain lasting into Sunday morning. Now, once we get into Sunday afternoon, looks pretty good. Partly sunny, high temps into the upper 70s. Rainfall potential, we'll see where the heaviest band set up, but I think most of us will pick up at least a quarter, half an inch. Some areas could pick up 1 or 2 inches of rain, which again, we need it. We'll take what we can get. All right, 86 tomorrow, warm and windy, 79 on Sunday. Morning storms also turning a little bit cooler as we head into your Sunday. We're going to make tomorrow an alert day just due to that severe threat tomorrow evening. Morning storms Sunday, 79 on Monday. Warm into the lower 80s next week, but we get a little bit of a dry stretch. So we're going to dry out a bit next week, and temperatures overall looking pretty good. Elise?
Coming up, taking on a hot button issue.
President Biden is going around Congress and taking a new step to tackle gun violence. I'm Mala Rivera in Washington with how he's addressing an issue that will be key to young voters in 2024.
Starting next year, Amazon Prime will include limited advertisements in movies and shows. Amazon's change brings it in line with its rivals like Netflix and Max, adding ad-supported tiers as companies search for additional revenue. And customers that want to skip the spots can buy an ad-free tier for an additional $2.99 per month next year. The holiday season just got a little more affordable. The United States Postal Service announcing there will be no peak holiday surcharges for mailing and shipping this year. There will also be no additional fees for residential area delivery, for Saturday delivery, or for minimum volumes. Meanwhile, competitors UPS and FedEx are moving forward with holiday surcharges this season. They begin in October. The United Auto Workers Union inviting President Biden to the picket lines as thousands more members join. The White House has stayed away from the bargaining table so far. Fox Business Network's Jeff Flock has the latest on the auto worker strike.
They chose for us to be out here right now. This wasn't a decision we made. This is a company's decision.
The United Auto Workers Union expanding its strike on Friday, with President Shawn Fain announcing that workers at 38 parts distribution centers owned by both General Motors and Stellantis will be joining the picket lines. That brings the total number of members on strike to more than 18,000.
Well, I think it's time for GM and Stellantis to get real. Ford Motor Company listened and they came to the table with some good offers.
Fain saying the union's potential breakthroughs with Ford include ensuring additional job security after layoffs and bringing back a cost of living allowance. The UAW says Stellantis and General Motors rejected those proposals. But talks with Ford aren't over, and the strike at the Ford factory in Wayne, Michigan is still on. The UAW is demanding a 32-hour work week, a restoration of old pension plans, and wage hikes of more than 35%. A week into the walkout, thousands of workers have been laid off. The union will be dipping into its strike fund to pay each member $500 a week.
Our invitation to anyone today, including the White House, to come and join our workers on a picket line, that's an open invitation for anybody. That's where you see support.
In response, GM says today's strike escalation is unnecessary and that it has contingency plans. In Wayne, Michigan, I'm Jeff Flock with the Fox Business Network.
Up next, we take a look at one of the new updates to the Apple Watch, tracking your mood. Some new Apple Watch health monitoring features may put you in the mood to buy one. Apple's new update, watchOS 10, can now track mental health and state of mind by letting you log your feelings. Users can add a momentary emotion or a daily mood from the watch face. Data logged in the app can be used to assess if a user has depression or anxiety and to generate a PDF report for medical professionals. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. How the Biden administration is taking action to combat gun violence. President Biden is taking new action to fight gun violence. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera reports from Washington on a new office that the White House says will focus solely on the issue.
It's a grim number. So far, there have been at least 506 mass shootings in the United States.
Every single day, over 100 people are shot and killed in the United States. Gun violence has no boundaries.
In response, President Biden is establishing the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, an action many gun reform activists have long been pushing for.
After every mass shooting, we hear a simple message, the same message all over the country, and I've been to every mass shooting. Do something. Please do something.
Hampered by a divided Congress, the creation of the office is one of the few actions the president can take to reduce shootings. It will focus on implementing and expanding laws which have already been passed, like last year's bipartisan federal gun bill.
Coordinate more support for survivors, families, and communities affected by gun violence, including mental health care, financial assistance, the same way FEMA responds to natural disasters.
Vice President Kamala Harris will be leading the office, a high-profile position as she struggles with low polling. Gun violence is shaping up to be a crucial issue among young voters, a key voting bloc in the 2024 presidential election.
On this issue, we do not have a moment to spare, nor a life to spare.
President Biden says he'll continue to urge Congress to pass other actions like enacting universal background checks and banning assault weapons. In Washington, Matthew Rivera, Fox News.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez and his wife have been indicted on bribery charges. The Justice Department says the Democratic senator and his wife Nadine Menendez are facing charges in connection with their corrupt relationship with 3 New Jersey businessmen. He's denied any wrongdoing. More than 500,000 American military families move as part of their jobs every single year, and now the Blue Star Families organization is making those moves a little easier. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more from Washington.
Only 1% serve. We need that other 99% to be part of our lives. Being an active duty member of America's military isn't easy, and it's even more complicated when families are involved. About 600,000 military families move to new communities every year, and now the organization Blue Star Families is highlighting the challenges they face and also lending a helping hand. You get financial challenges, you get family challenges with the moves and the resettling kids in schools, and you also get loneliness because in communities people can feel isolated. But those problems can all be solved through engagement. Blue Star Welcome Week kicks off over the weekend. It's a nationwide series of events designed to help towns and cities welcome their new military families and help them thrive. They can meet their neighbors, they can see their cultural institutions, their great places to get a burger or to get a haircut, and right away feel a sense of belonging. The average military family moves 3 times as much as their civilian counterparts, and only 33% of service members report feeling a sense of belonging in their communities. Experts say events like these are crucial to maintaining morale, forming strong connections between military families and their neighbors. When local folks get involved with the military, they also get to have a little bit of a taste of that mission-driven sense of camaraderie. It's a very uplifting thing. So I think everyone wins when we all come together. Welcome Week runs through October 1st. You can find a list of events at bluestarfam.org. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
A bit later, Missouri's largest school district is changing up its bag policies for people attending football games.
Well, of course, we had some heavy amounts of rain late last night through the morning hours, some severe thunderstorms across the region, but most importantly, beneficial rain, which we needed. About 3/4 of an inch at the Joplin Airport. Since midnight, that puts us at 3 inches for the month so far, which is pretty good. The rain's picked up this week. For the year, about 25, but we're still over 10 inches below where we should be. All that rain raced on out of here. You can see it dropping through. Mainly it was out of here by mid-afternoon. Then since that point in time, we've looked pretty good. We still look pretty good across the region. Here's our next storm system. This is building the western high plains, Montana and Wyoming, and this system will start to affect us as we go into the evening hours on Saturday, and there is a severe threat. So if we look, marginal, slight, elevated. So we are in the elevated, which is a level 3 out of 5 on the Kansas-Oklahoma side, spreading into southwest Missouri. Main timing, 5 p.m. to about midnight, may go a little bit later. Main threats, hail and wind. We'll keep tornado threat slight, but it is there, especially earlier in the evening. We're going to elevate hail, wind, and rain. So let's step through time. I'm going to move us up to about the noon hour on Saturday. Warming into the lower 80s. As we get into the afternoon, look at this, upper 80s to near 90, so it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, it's going to be a little bit windy. Now, as we go through the evening, here 6 p.m., a few thunderstorms start to develop in our far western counties. Everybody else is dry. Thunderstorms continue to erupt. Here's 8 p.m., And these are the guys that will have at least a low tornado threat. But once they shift east, here's 10 p.m., getting to the state line, Kansas and Missouri, I think we shift mainly to a wind and a hail threat. Thunderstorms continue to drop through. Here's a little bit after midnight. We kind of switch over to just good old loud storms, heavy amounts of rain lasting into Sunday morning. Now, once we get into Sunday afternoon, looks pretty good. Partly sunny, high temps into the upper 70s. Rainfall potential, we'll see where the heaviest band's set up, but I think most of us will pick up at least a quarter, half an inch. Some areas could pick up 1 or 2 inches of rain, which again, we need it. We'll take what we can get. All right, 86 tomorrow, warm and windy, 79 on Sunday. Morning storms also turning a little bit cooler as we head into your Sunday. We're going to make tomorrow an alert day just due to that severe threat tomorrow evening. Morning storms Sunday, 79 on Monday. Warm into lower 80s next week, but we get a little bit of a dry stretch. So we're going to dry out a bit next week, and temperatures overall looking pretty good. Elise?
Thanks, Doug. Some Hawaii residents will soon return to the burned out town of Lahaina. For many, it will be the first time since the deadly wildfires that killed more than 90 people. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has more.
It was the deadliest American wildfire in more than a century. At least 97 people killed when flames swept through Maui back in August. Now, the focus is firmly on recovery. Hundreds of anxious residents are gearing up to return to Lahaina on Monday. Many will see their properties for the first time since the fires. It's part of Maui's re-entry program, and local officials say they're working hard to make sure everything goes smoothly.
The community feels a sense of anxiety and uncertainty. So what we need to bring is stability and security.
But those displaced residents are still asking tough questions about why they received no warning and why it was so difficult to get away when the fires started. The Maui Police Department is defending its performance, but also taking a deeper look at its response and how it can improve moving forward.
Do we have certain breaching equipment in each district, such as jaws of life and different saws that can normally go through barriers and doors and things like that.
Meanwhile, West Maui is gearing up to reopen to tourists in just 3 weeks. That news welcomed by business owners, but strongly criticized by some locals.
I was in shock. It turned to anger because we making accommodations for tourism, but we cannot even make accommodations for displaced residents, such as myself.
More than 6,000 people have signed a petition calling for tourism to remain suspended in West Maui, saying it's too soon to welcome visitors back. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Coming up in sports, we hear from the voice of the Chiefs in the newest edition of the Minute with Mitch. Plus another week of exciting high school football action in the 4 states. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Friday night is here, and so is high school football. Tonight's week 4 of the Fox 14 Press Box with myself and our sports reporter, Brock Baldridge. It airs in just over an hour at 11 o'clock, and we hope you'll stay up with us to go through an exciting slate of games. Several matchups stand out. We'll start by going to our game of the week between 4-0 Nevada and 4-0 Mount Vernon. Also bringing you highlights from Joplin, trying to bounce back to last week's loss against Webb City. They take on Nixa. In Kansas, unbeaten Parsons travels to fellow unbeaten Baxter Springs. Fort Scott also tries to stay perfect on the road at Pittsburgh. Highlights from those games and a lot more tonight at 11. College football, less than 24 hours from kicking off, and for the first time in the month of September, both Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State play home games. Each of them have taken care of business the past couple weeks on the road. Starting first with the Gorillas, who enter tomorrow's game against Nebraska Kearney at the number 3 team in the country. The Lopers just lost to Missouri Southern at home last week. The Gorillas coming off a 38-37 nail-biting victory on the road at Central Missouri. Hoping this week that the game doesn't come down to the final minute like that one. Kickoff at Kearney Smith Stadium is at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Missouri Southern makes its long-awaited return to Joplin to host Northeastern State. The Lions have won close in the past couple contests, a 7-point win at Washburn 2 weeks ago, and a 5-point win against Kearney last week. The Northeastern State 0-3. Riverhawks have been outscored 125-17 the first 3 weeks. Kickoff in Joplin, same time as at Pittsburgh. 2 o'clock start tomorrow afternoon. To pro football, the Chiefs host the 0-2 Bears this Sunday at Arrowhead. And if you find yourself yelling at the TV every week about penalty yardage or drops passes, you're not alone. Some of the numbers that don't show up on the stat sheet are the focus of this week's Minute with Mitch.
My interest this week is in the hidden yardage that doesn't show up in your fantasy league or stat sheets. Think first of drop passes. In the stat sheet, it's an incompletion. In effect, it's the yards lost on those drops. That's hidden yardage 1. Secondly, the batted down pass. In the stat sheet, it's just PD, pass defensed. In effect, it's the yards that would have been gained had the pass not been deflected. Hidden yardage 2. Thirdly, the penalties. In the stat sheet, it's just the yards penalized. In effect, it's the yardage wiped out by the penalty and the penalty yardage. The hidden yardage has affected both the Chiefs and Bears in the first 2 weeks of the season. This week, if you're up for it, keep track of the hidden yardage and see who wins this game on this Minute with Mitch. The Minute with Mitch is brought to you by KOAM Jewelry. Every day's game day, KOAM Jewelry, Pittsburgh, Joplin.
That's all for sports. Back with more news after this.
In an effort to keep fans safe during high school football games, you'll find updated bag policies at a couple of Springfield public schools, Missouri's largest district. More from Michael Hoffman.
That aspect was an autonomous decision from 2 of our schools.
It's that time of year again, high school football season. With it comes spectators.
We want people to see what our student athletes are doing. We want the community to see the school spirit in the stands.
Spirit that comes with rules for spectators at all SPS home games. High school students have to show their student IDs to attend. K-8 students must be accompanied by an adult. Students must remain in the stands for the whole game unless they're using the restrooms or concession stands, and there are no large bags or backpacks allowed.
We're always looking at what others that host events and crowds like we do, what are they doing, what are common expectations, what is out there to create the best game day experience, because that's what we're after.
While all SPS schools have baseline rules to follow, they still have the autonomy to add on top of those rules if they see fit.
So they couldn't come out and say, hey, high school students don't need to have an ID, because that's a common practice across all of our schools, but they do have the authority to add in extra measures that they choose to.
While small see-through bags are allowed at SPS schools, at Parkview and Central, no bags are allowed. The only exceptions are a small, clear bag not larger than 12 by 6 by 12 inches, a gallon-sized freezer bag, or a clutch purse not exceeding 4.5 by 8.5 inches.
If there are concerns, share it with us, but our job and what we're trying to do is put out the best experience that we can for everyone that attends the games.
Coming up, how some people in Missouri are using a fruit to predict what the weather will be like this winter. For all your weather forecast needs, you can always tune in to KOAM and Fox 14. But some people in Missouri are taking a different approach to see how bad this winter will be. Tracy Hinson reports.
Just plop it in your mouth and you can kind of suck the pulp off the seed. Kind of like a pawpaw a little bit in that way. It's actually really good.
Kind of orange dreamsicle tasting, but it's not the fruit that has us sitting down with Missouri Botanical Garden Associate Scientist Emily Werchewski.
I study persimmon, specifically our native persimmon that grows here in Missouri.
She is an expert, but the legend surrounding the persimmon seed eludes her.
There's this great folklore about persimmons, which is that if you cut into one of these seeds, it will help you predict what the coming winter will be like.
It's not spelled out inside.
You look at the shape of it, and it can look either like a knife, a spoon, or a fork.
So what shape did you see in there? Fork, knife, spoon? Well, I know what I saw, and it links to something that we have to scoop a lot of: snow.
It is very clearly a spoon shape.
Emily cut into more, all spoons.
The spoon You might, it's kind of obvious, it's like a shovel, so they say if you see a spoon, it'll be snowy winter. If you see a knife, it's supposed to represent cutting winds and cold. And if it's a fork, it's supposed to be kind of bountiful, so maybe a warmer winter that's more pleasant.
There could be a scientific link to seed shape and winter predictions, but for now, it is just a bit of fun.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of animals at a zoo in Rio enjoying some icy snacks. Thanks for making us part of your night.